Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to, recording June? Recording June? Recording?
Are you recording?
You guys hear me out there?
I can hear you, Ken.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the Planning Board and Zoning Board. Everyone please stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. And after we pledge allegiance to the flag, I would ask you to remain standing for a moment of silence. We lost a 12-year-old boy on the 29th, one of our residents, and his name was David Connor, so we want to honor him with a moment of silence. Okay? Thank you. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Jim, get a roll call, please.
Playhammer.
Here.
Dickinson.
Here.
Rushian.
He's excused.
Chowski. Fullerton.
Here.
Walperly.
Here.
Daly.
Here.
Ranieri.
Here.
Kapadas.
Here.
Canella.
Here.
Stowe.
Here.
In place of Dave Rowan, Dave Marlamere.
Here.
John Pettit.
Here.
And Keith Lang.
Here.
Mr. Collier, I don't believe we have to seat one of our alternates. We do have 7. Okay. So I think we should be okay. Mr. Chelsea's not here yet, but I think we're okay with that. Okay. All right. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act has been given by the clerk in the following manner: posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Clerk's office, emailed to retrospect, and the Courier Post. The first order of business tonight would be to approve the minutes of our October meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Ranieri,
Second.
second by Mr. Ockley. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next order of business is a application, and I would ask you to come forward and state your name, and we'll get started.
I'm Jeff Gans. I'm an attorney representing the applicant in this matter, which is GMDJS WCD Investments LLC. Possibly Mr. Chow will testify in the
Yes, we'll swear in him as well as Mr. Pettit at this time. So any testimony we swear both will be at the same time. Raise your right hand and swear a testimony about to give before this board will be the whole truth.
I did.
Thank you.
Could you spell your name for the record, please?
Okay.
On me.
Fabian Chow.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chavez Company was the owner of lots 2 and 3, and recently purchased lot number 4, and that was off Patrick, pharmacist. Yeah. There was a building on there, and Mr. Chavez Company had the building removed, and it's our application to be able to put an easement on that piece so that he can have better access to his mini shopping center that he has next door. At this point, there's really no variances or waivers we were asking for, although we did advertise that any variances, waivers we're asking for to be waived. It looks like we don't have a problem with the impervious surface or anything like that. And I was talking with Mr. Pettit today concerning the issue of the width of that easement. We have 18 right now. And I think Mr. Pettit was mentioning something about possibly enlarging it to 20 to 22 feet distance. We tried to get hold of our surveyor today to see if we can run a number, to see if that would run us in a problem with anything with impervious surface. Unfortunately, when we spoke to him this afternoon, he wasn't in the office and wasn't able to get numbers run. So one of the things we would say here is if the board wants us to enlarge from 18 to 20 or 22, then we would be willing to do so, and then would consult with your engineer after tonight to make sure that we don't run into problems with that impervious surface unless we get variance for the impervious surface.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit with our solicitor, and, you know, if that is what our professional is going to recommend, we could probably accommodate you with that this evening. So
Mhm.
you can come back.
There was another comment as well. Dave mentioned to me earlier this week the possibility of consolidating lots. We don't have any objection with the consolidating lots, but in speaking with Mr. Pettit this afternoon, we need to make sure that the issue of impervious surface on lots 2 and 3 would be grandfathered because we're not changing anything there, and that lot 4 would still be able to have whatever size driveway, not necessarily an easement anymore, but a driveway up to not violating the impervious surface on lot 4. Or, again, getting a variance for whatever would be required to have 22 feet. But we're willing to do either one of those items, or both.
If I can, Madam Chairman, I think what initiated that conversation, the section of the lot, the plan that I had just showed the lot 4 where the driveway, but it's clear the impression that that driveway coming off the road is going to service the entire shopping center there. And that's all one contiguous shopping center. So when we were discussing and looking, and I also have discussed in detail some example of Mr. Pettit, is that I thought from a better planning point of view, instead of have separate lots, since that driveway is going to be servicing the commercial lot, it made better sense in planning that, at least I thought, and to recommend to the board that the applicant consolidate the lots. Now, that raises the question, speaking to Mr. Pettit, does that now mean it increases the maximum coverage so he has an impervious surface problem? I believe it does not in the sense as far as the applicant's concerned. He's here for one lot dealing with the driveway that, as it stands now, does not need any variance for the maximum coverage and impervious surface. And he has advertised for any and all variances or waivers that might come up. And usually that, as I interpret that, is when the applicant is testifying, if the board feels from a planning point of view, there should be some change, and that change could result in a variance of some kind. That doesn't mean the applicant has to go back out and advertise and notice that. That's coming from the board's point of view for a better planning perspective on the entire lot. And it's appropriate to do that.
Your tax assessor probably would be happier also to have it as one lot too. Hard to evaluate
And
just
that's
a
a lot,
property of that
nothing more
driveway.
than a driveway creates.
Chad,
That problem right now, Mr. Mayor brought it up.
Yeah, it has been a policy of the municipality to try to do exactly what you're talking about, Mr. Collier, is consolidating lots so we don't have these little dangling parcels, and if the board feels that that makes sense, I don't see it.
Chad, are you still looking to move the island that you and I spoke about, or are you going to be okay with that?
No, I
Okay.
want to keep as it is for
Okay.
my business. And the reason is because we are getting no business because only one way, only left turn is very hard on that platform. We tried, I have read this building last 5 years. We are not doing anything where no tenant is coming. Reason is only one way, that's a very narrow, if big truck is coming, they're going on the field to come in here. That's why we just putting more money to do, so we can improve our business and we want the house.
So he's answering why we need the driveway, not necessarily that the island, not now, but
When I met with you at your
Yeah,
property, you
that time I
expressed
was
an interest.
thinking to keep it more wider, but right now we have no plan to do it.
Okay.
Is that something you might want to do in the future? Do you
Maybe
do
in
this?
the future we will look at.
Is that something, John, we could approve? Is it a big issue? Do you know the issue with the island?
To make modifications to the existing site?
Yeah. He's saying that it's too narrow.
Exactly.
I don't know if the board approved that originally, the way it's configured right now, that would be an amended approval.
So different than what we're doing.
Well, that would be a separate issue, I think. That's the existing site, not what's being proposed to this evening, so.
So he would have to come in for amended site plan.
I guess if the board approved it originally, so.
hopefully you'll have that problem, you have so much business, and you're gonna need an ingress and two-way traffic, hopefully that will come to fruition for you. You come back and, you know,
So that would be an amended site plan as opposed to looking at,
That's what I would think.
I understand.
Unless you have any other questions, that's our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
There's lighting along here, like the driveway and all? Or nothing?
We have a lighting on
On the
wall,
building? Right.
It's on the very side. If you need a more lighting or whatever.
Yeah, I'm just asking what you have there as far as.
Not right now, but on the
Okay.
building we have.
And what's that, what is that zone, that lot?
It's a commercial zone.
It is? That house was commercial?
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole area is commercial.
There were two houses on that property. According to what I looked up on the tablet, I don't know how old the photo was, but it's New Jersey parcels. I think that's where you gained your information. There were two houses on that property. This one driveway going back here, there was a house here, and this was the other right is the other house that was there. I thought we were going to see a site plan on it. That's what I thought we were going to see. Because we don't know what these other properties are, how they're zoned. There's a lot of things we don't know.
What other properties?
Oh, like you talk about taxes, Karen, right? You said that there's going to be any semi-traffic in here, semi-trucks coming in here?
Well, part of the application already clarifies all those things. I think that this is just adding on to existing site plan that was already approved. And that site plan, that's what John was just explaining, that if we did anything to the original property, that would be an amended site plan. We're kind of taking this as its own.
Well, I have no recollection.
But we are asking to.
I have no recollection of ever seeing this on the site plan.
John, I know you have an opportunity to do a review letter. Do you have any comments on this?
I did not prepare a letter because my comments are very limited.
Oh, it's minutes, yes.
The one comment I had, and I talked the applicant's attorney about, is the width proposed was 18 feet.
Right.
And for two-way traffic, I just think that's too small. So if they can get that widened to like 22 feet, because there's no parking associated with it. If it's parking, you want 24 feet, but without parking, I think 22 would be sufficient. I did a quick calculation. If you look at the impervious coverage on the plan, it says it's 34%, which is what's existing, and we're trying to keep it to the same, but you're permitted 50% in the zone. So if you add 4 feet for the length of the property, you're still only adding 8%. So I think they can do that without triggering a variance for this lot. And I agree with Mr. Carlin here that, that they should consolidate the lots.
And no need for lighting, is that what you were asking, Dennis?
Yeah, no, I was asking what he had now, he's got it on the side of it. And I don't know if it matters, but I go in his store, and it's a pain in the butt sometimes, depending on who's there, or to get in's fine, but getting out. Yeah, no, I like that.
Especially the summertime, right?
Yeah, anytime, really. Sometimes with that traffic, it's brutal.
Do you have anything else, Mr. Crosnier?
Yeah.
So assuming that they're going to consolidate the lots, then there's no need for an easement, which was my other idea, or other concern, is that they don't want to provide a deed, but if it's.
Hasn't been determined, hasn't been determined, the zoning for this lot for? Because it
It's
was
commercial.
residential.
Yes, I did check it, it is commercial.
It's now commercial.
According to the zoning map, it's commercial, yes.
Are there any other questions from the board?
No questions.
At
So-
this time,
So the lot consolidation would just be, is it currently 3 lots? Or do
Three
you
lots.
want to do all 3 as one, or just 2 or just 3 and 4?
Contiguous site, I would think better.
So all the contiguous.
All one
Okay.
site.
I just want to clarify.
So they should provide a deed of consolidation.
For review, correct.
Right.
Something to engineer and legal review.
at this point in time, if anyone from the audience would like to come up and speak on this application only, please come up to the microphone and state your name, your address.
Thank you.
Gina Quiles, I live right next door, 16 on Oakland Avenue. This is Roberta Luciano, we live at that property. I just had some questions on how close the driveway is going to be to our property. That was the first question. We're like right here, And
North Oakland end?
Yes, North Oakland. And then what kind of privacy will we have since we directly face the parking lot and the building? So I want to know what kind of privacy we're going to have, whether it's going to be bushes or a privacy fence.
It looks like the edge of the driveway closest to the property opposite Clemensburg Ridge Road.
Yeah, I looked at the plan, but I didn't
No, no, no,
understand.
We're right, this,
Your lot's
Lot 26?
this is Oakland, we're right over here.
Right here?
Yes.
Lot 26,
26,
Roberto?
Yes.
is that what we are?
So the edge of the driveway will be roughly 20 feet from your property line. And the curb cut is going to be about the same location it is today.
Okay, right where that driveway is now.
Yeah, so you had this driveway here, it's going to be about the same location. That's what that's showing, right here.
Because we face directly.
Well,
back
no,
of the
that's
building.
our porch faces that side, our house faces North Oakland.
Oakland Avenue.
Right, okay.
Were you thinking of maybe extending the privacy fence, because we don't allow privacy fences in the front yards, but we could come up to
On the
the,
side.
edge of the front of the property? Was that something that the applicant was thinking about?
Yes, we wrote in here that the hedge, fence, or wall not less than 3 feet, not more than 5 feet high, 5 feet from the property line, be placed as a screen between the commercial and residential properties.
So you already thought about the screening?
Yes.
Okay.
It's in there.
Would it be 5 feet on the property line, 3 to 5 feet high?
Yes.
5 feet high.
Whatever you tell us.
I think the current fence is, what's the current fence? Is the current fence 5 feet high?
That's our fence.
That's,
What is it?
that's your thing.
That's your fence?
Yeah.
No, I mean, the fence, isn't there a fence behind the property?
On lot 3, there is a fence. I'm sorry, I can't tell whether it's ours, theirs, or how high it would be.
There's no fence behind the existing shopping center?
No.
No?
The fence that's there, it's on our
That's
property,
yours.
and it faces the back of their building. So on the side, and our door is like right there, you walk right into their parking lot.
Is that a privacy fence what you have now?
Yes, but since the ground is higher, you can really just walk by and look right into our yard. I have a pool, so during the summertime, we have a lot of people that walk through the back of the building, and I mean, they're like, they can see right into.
Because the commercial property is higher than your residential.
Yes.
I would like to go by the fence or how you want, I can cover both sides, because I see lot of them which go sit down behind.
Right,
And
arrange.
small be looking in the video camera, but I can tell anyone, I just say move please, but they're sitting on the back, there is your move, and where you're pulling.
Right,
And if you want, I can cover both sides, so nobody can trespass inside.
The other is whatever you wanted in there.
Ordinance allows for a 6-foot privacy fence. Do we allow 6-foot privacy? Right. Maybe put a privacy fence along there, but not past their front yard. But it can't go past their house, the front of their porch.
Before this will be the construction.
Roberto, what would you prefer? Would you prefer that Chad close off the back so they can't get the kids back there?
That would be,
And that way we can just leave everything the way it is?
I can close it that way, I can put a higher control, maybe both sides closed, so nobody can trespass in.
on the back
Right.
part,
Back of the
yeah,
building.
when you see that they travel through.
That's why we rock
And,
and.
yes, where your trash bin is or
Right.
something back there, that's where they come.
What I will do, on the both sides of the building, I will put a fence and door lock, both sides, so nobody go backside.
So they can't go.
They're going behind.
So you don't want people behind your building?
Yeah, and then
Is
sitting
that
on the
allowed?
backside.
That would keep people away from looking in.
Building
It's
that,
not
Sounds like a good
Although,
resolution.
I don't know if your fire marshal's here, but I'm not sure if you can block off.
I don't believe it's a pass-through. It's not a,
Fire truck.
yeah, we're not making a trouble about it.
John, do you want them to run that by you before you want to take a look at the fence plan?
They can amend the plan.
You would do that, of course.
The board agrees as a condition of approval.
We'll,
Make a resident.
yeah, we'll depend on Mr. Pettit's expertise to,
Just tell us what to put there.
A privacy fence along the back of the building, and then it has to stop no further than the front yard. You can't go past the front.
Now, on the side, are they able to put like bushes or something, since you can't really put, like you said, a privacy fence? Because I know across the street, they have the store, and then they have like half a fence, and then she has privacy bushes on the side.
whatever you guys decide, I'm ready to, willing to do anything.
Make it look tasteful.
Are you saying put the fence up to where you
I
can
can-
go?
Where you're allowed with a few bushes?
Put some bushes,
Yeah.
we can do that.
Makes sense.
I can do that, so cover your back and nobody can look on you.
Yeah.
Then they can-
Like I said, when
It's
you
hard
put
to
the fence up,
bushes.
you go as far as you can go, not to go past the front yard,
Yeah.
and then put the bushes there.
Keith, there's no obstruction with the bushes, right? The bushes are allowed all the way out to the edge of the property. Not on corners, though.
As long as they don't obstruct you. Vehicular or visual
So it doesn't obstruct vehicles.
We'll work with your engineer as to whatever, how far the bushes would be, what's
Yeah, so it
suggested.
doesn't block the driveway or,
Yes.
yeah, so you can't go out so it blocks the driveway.
Right, just like the-
We don't mind like the bushes being there, except we'd like to be able to look out.
Not giant.
Not like huge, bushes.
Before that, you were looking outside that you were big building.
Yeah, but I saw the building.
Okay.
Whatever bushes are suggested by the
Mr.
engineer.
Pettit, Mr.
that's
Pettit
what
has
we'll do.
many years of expertise in this, and will depend on his expertise to make the plan, he'll make the plan work for you.
Mr. Pettit, in your opinion, do you think there's any utility notices necessary for the county? Like that's a county road,
State road.
or asking for a letter of no interest?
Well, they're not changing the access plan on this bridge road, so I wouldn't think, you know.
Well, you know, I'm just saying that because
I would say,
if
you know,
they take a parochial view to it, then we're in trouble.
but I will say that, you know, the ordinance, the way it's written, is not very clear what triggers site plan approval and what doesn't.
If
There's
you're
language in
disturbing
there that says that the board can waive site plan under certain conditions, but there's nothing in there that says what triggers it. So, you know, to put a driveway in, you know, I don't, not sure.
I-
You know, you're asking me, if does it need county approval?
And the opinion would be you're not disturbing anything, so you don't have to worry about any restoration fees.
We also noticed the Kent County Planning Board as well.
You applied?
No, we didn't apply, we noticed the one of these applications here.
All the laws are a little silent on that, too.
Well, you gotta look at the county, you know, requirements and see if that triggers, you know, putting the driveway in trigger site plan.
I mean, the driveway's on the municipal side.
Or you want the state highway, right?
And it's a state highway.
Well, pretty much every site plan approval that the board would grant needs county approval as well. But this is a very, very odd application, and then putting a driveway in, so there's no building, you know, you're not increasing a building size, so. And, you know, the county would look at this and I think just hate it, because it's not affecting county drainage or county roadways.
Well, again, we'll be notified, if there's a, you know, I'm sure if the county has a problem with it, will let us know. Any other members of the board have any questions or concerns?
Got one more question. With
Yeah,
the increase of the driveway size, is the curb cut going to be bigger?
The curb cut is actually proposed at 20 feet, so you would have to widen by, you know, 2 feet. And I think they're already widening what's out there today, but it's in the same location, so.
Anyone else? Mr. Pettit, anything else, sir?
I have one question. You know, normally when a site plan is approved by this board, the procedure is that a bond is posted. You know, the borough engineer inspects the improvements, make sure everything's installed. You know, it was one thing with the driveway, but now we're talking about fencing and bushes. I don't know if you want to, you know, impose that, you know, so that somebody makes sure that it's built
I
according
think
to what the
it's
board
proper
approved.
protocol if you do.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, we've had some issues, you're right, with projects getting closed out. I still don't know if a fence or bushes takes us to the level where we weren't getting curbs and sidewalks put in.
But there's no CEO that can be withheld here.
Yeah.
You've got an operating business, so he could build the driveway and never put the, you know, put the fence or the shrubs in, and then you have to take.
So protect those neighbors. Yeah. Okay.
I think this is an easier way to ensure it's complete, that's all.
Anyone else? Okay, well, I think we should take a vote on approval.
So the approval, the application is properly before the board, zoning is appropriate.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Dave, I forgot to close the public portion. At this point in time, is there anyone else wishing to speak in the audience? Entertain a motion to close the public portion.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Mr. Dickinson,
Second.
second by Mr. Ranieri, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, I'm sorry, Mr. Cormier.
Okay, the application is properly before the board, the zone is a commercial zone, the applicant. Initial application dealt with a driveway easement that he was applying for. During the course of testimony, it was determined that the applicant has agreed to consolidate his lots, and therefore it's not really a driveway easement. This now becomes a amendment in the sense that his site plan becomes part of his site plan for the driveway access. If the board is inclined to grant the approval, there were a couple of conditions that we talked about. First condition is the applicant agreed to consolidate all 3 lots into one lot. Submit his deed of consolidation through the engineer in my office for review and approval, and submit to the board for signing. Also, there was a discussion of the width of the driveway. Applicant has agreed to work with the board engineer to increase the width of the driveway for two-way traffic up to that 22 feet. And there was also discussion about fences and bushes. The applicant again agreed to accommodate the request of the residents and the board, and work with the board engineer to have that fence and bushes decided and approved according to the engineer's consent. So there are the 3 conditions that the board approves the application.
And the performance bond?
And the performance bond.
Okay, roll call, Jim?
Is there a motion and a second? Did we do that
I
yet?
think we did, but we wouldn't do it again. Make a motion to approve the,
Oh, you did.
I think, we need roll call.
Playhammer.
Yes.
Dickinson.
Yes.
Walperly.
Yes.
Fujian is out. Chelsea is out. Fullerton.
Yes.
Daley.
Yes.
Ranieri.
Yes.
Lapidus.
Yes.
Canella.
Yeah.
I don't think Mr. Bernal needed to vote this evening. I'm just, he's not seen it as a, we have 7. Just, okay.
Thank you.
You are more than welcome. Congratulations.
Best of luck.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Have a nice Thanksgiving, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Do you have any old business?
If anyone wants a little update on the redevelopment, okay, so, the borough engineer, met with members of council to, begin a conversation about the redevelopment zone. A map was provided with a general overlay of the area that we were just talking about. The next step at this point is to, and I think we can do this evening, is, I think it's Mr. Ranieri and myself and another member of council. I think we need 3 members from this board to be part of this committee to start to review the overlay so that we start to decide where we want to do this redevelopment. Do we want to expand it? Do we want to decrease it? And then, of course, I think the first step would be to bring this to this entire body to review it and look at it and make a recommendation to the council about what we're going to do. Obviously, the hope there is that everything will go through the planning board, obviously starting with this redevelopment committee, but then go through the planning board as a recommendation to the council to approve.
When do you have your meeting, Mr. Mayor? When are your meetings?
Well, I'd like to see us try to get something like this done in the next couple, well, I know we have a holiday, but maybe we could say between Thanksgiving and that first week of December, maybe have a,
I mean, do you have daytime meetings, evening meetings? I'm getting-
the last meeting we had was, it was, typically council likes to have their committee meetings in the late afternoons. I think that works maybe for most people. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. You had a meeting today, what time was that meeting?
At 4:30.
So 4:30 was like a public events meeting. So if that works for members.
I can't do that, but
Well, we can always have different times. I mean, the idea is,
I don't have a problem. I don't want to.
yeah, I mean, it can be the evening, some of the meetings are at 7 o'clock at night, so.
Most people are done at 5, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, my best case would be in here like 6, honestly.
There's nothing to say that we couldn't do this, and once again, it could be a rolling attendance. I just don't think that everyone needs to be there every meeting, but if we get a few members to be part of brainstorm.
Yeah.
Because first of all, I think we need several eyes on it to look at these things. I mean,
we've only had one meeting and already something changed. So imagine that. You know, the only thing I would say is committee should be a little bit limited because hopefully we work out some of the little bugs before we really bring it out there. But there's really nothing to, like, for example, to present to the public at this point because I think we need to figure out what we want to do first before we present anything.
But we talked a little bit, Dennis, you know, just because of the real estate end of it, you know, we were hoping to, you know, have him on board, and Joe is able to be there earlier than myself if we are, if the press.
So we could,
So we can only have three.
well, how can we have a fourth then if we're going to have, no, three's enough? Okay. And we can always invite somebody else. If someone can't make it,
Yeah.
somebody could go. Okay. I'll send out an email, we'll have a
If
meeting.
anyone's interested in doing it, let us know, because if one of us can't make it, then, you know, we can call.
Time's not a problem for me, I'm retired.
Okay.
John, did you want to have any input? Do you want me to send you things, or what's your thoughts on sending those? He's going to shrink it. Okay. Commissioner, if you can imagine, all we really did at this point was we blew up the commercial zone and kind of saw where our existing commercial zone was. And then thought if we were to overlay a redevelopment zone, you know, where are its boundaries? Should the boundaries go wherever, you know, and then this board can start to look at it. I have reached out to a few members of the business community that these properties would affect. It seems very positive. Anybody wants to do anything to try to make things work. I guess where the questions become is, what do we do with these different properties? You know, what are we willing to allow? You know, I'm not saying we just give carte blanche to any project, but I think that we should be open-minded, and I think projects might work in different parts of the town.
Are we looking to redo the master plan at some point in time?
I think the recommendation that was going to be given to this board was to just do a review of the master plan. I don't think we need to do a full-blown one, unless John thinks differently.
Did you just do that?
We did it 7 years ago.
7 years.
But one of the mistakes that we made 7 years ago, it's been 7 years.
Yeah. 7 years since Leah was sitting there.
But we failed, John, to adopt a lot of the recommendations. Some of the recommendations moved up to council, and they were adopted, some were not. Over these past 7 years, we've trickled some of the different things, but I think the master plan allows us to, at least this review process should allow us to do it without notifying everybody, right? We can have public meetings and things like that, so if we do want to, you know, I mean, we talked about maybe even changing areas for zones. We talked about redefining zones a little bit. But our legal counsel has told us that if we do that, we have to go notify everybody, so at least this review process, I guess, would simplify it. So we've kind of waited for us to do this review before we make those changes. If that makes sense? So I think we do these things tandem, you know, maybe we can do this review and do this redevelopment and kind of get it done. I know I'm always hoping to do lots of things. I hope everyone will work and we'll get it done. My optimism sometimes is not as good. Some days are better than others, guys.
Most of them from council, Mr. Ranieri, and you know.
I think it's Mr. Farrell.
I'm not on the committee, but I want to be involved.
I thought you were. I thought we talked about it. You were.
Well, no, on this committee, yes, but I'm not on the,
The redevelopment committee?
no, I am on that committee. I didn't make that meeting, so.
Okay, maybe there wasn't much in the meeting.
Couldn't know that much of a year.
It wasn't cold.
Yeah. I think you know what it was the engineering committee. The engineering meeting. is
That's
what
the
it was.
committee. I'm on.
That's the one he's
There's
done.
one, that's it.
So the engineering basically just said, Mr. Bach brought that for us to start the conversation. That's why I said it wasn't anything official.
So Mr. Farrell.
So I think it's Mr. Farrell from the engineering committee, Mr. Ranieri from basically a finance perspective, and then myself, and then these three members we just said down. And then, of course, this board will be the first body to review everything. Make sense?
Make sense, everybody? Dennis, you go with that?
Yeah.
How did it look? Did you see the first initial look, did you get some different ideas?
Well, first when I,
Was it on the overhead, was it here?
no, it was just a big map, and it's upstairs, if I could bring it down. It's just basically shows a commercial zone. But once again, if you start looking at a commercial zone and start to draw with a black marker where the area should be, it starts to become questionable. You know, where do you,
Wheels turning?
well, sure, do you make it bigger, do you make it smaller? I think Mr. Bach, when we first looked at it, he thought I was asking to do too much, and by the end of the meeting, he was going bigger than me. So I think he thought that we should be more inclusive of different areas.
Will Steve be attending these meetings as well?
I don't know, I don't know yet. We'll have to decide how we want to do that. I'm assuming
He's got somebody in his department that might help us out. I think we need legal advice.
Beneficial.
So what's the date of the next meeting? Did you have that, or did you work?
We can make it up now if you want. I was just hoping maybe between Thanksgiving and that first week of December, maybe we could squeeze it in before the council meeting, which would really be
By
nice.
email thing, yeah.
And before the next planning board meeting, maybe we can bring something back to this board to start showing it.
What you got left? That's November.
That's November, that's December. Maybe would anybody think like December 1st? Anybody want to look at their calendars?
December first is Thursday,
Thursday?
second's a Friday, and Monday's a fifth.
December 1st, Thursday?
Yes.
What would be, Dennis? December 1st, Thursday?
December 1st, Thursday, yep, just give me a day or two notice. I'm good.
Okay, I'll send out an email.
Uh,
We'll put it on your calendars.
I'll make that work.
Appreciate it.
What would you say? Bless you.
What's the date?
December 1st, 6
Yeah,
o'clock.
give me a list of what I got to do.
Joe?
Yeah.
Joe Dennis, Candy,
Dennis.
me.
No, we're having it here.
That's it?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll have it upstairs.
All right, I'll send out the email. So
Okay.
we already decided this would be the,
And then if you don't have a new business or any other new business, but just for some information for everyone, the Runnemede Industrial Park sold. So just letting everyone know that. It's, Richard's Group is leaving. They're done. They sold to a friend of theirs. I actually had the pleasure of speaking to Mr. Dave Richard the other day on a different matter. It was a tax matter while I was on the phone with him. He said, well, I was going to call you and let the borough know that after all these years, we've decided to sell the property to a friend of theirs.
They're great guys.
So the settlement, I think, is happening by the end of this year. It's not done yet, but there's a settlement at the end of the year. One of the reasons that there was a tax issue that was trying to get resolved, and that got resolved, and then that's when he let me know. So I told him about this redevelopment idea, and he thought it was great if they were staying there, because they felt that the special economic development zone really helped them for what they were doing there. But if we did want to look at that zone again and open it up, they still have property there that he thinks that this new buyer is going to want to move forward to finish that building, that one building that never got built, right at the bend. And then was hoping to come in front of this board meeting and talk about that property on Clemsbridge Road.
The storage facility?
I think there was an approval at one point to have another set of industrial buildings.
Remember there was an application?
No, that was a different application. There wasn't like that.
He's talking about the bed on Ninth Avenue?
Yeah, Richard still owns all that land.
Oh,
It's about
the other
18
side.
acres, yeah, it's about 18 acres back there.
where the school is.
Where the school had looked at it, we talked about buses. Yeah, Mr. Softy's land, if you remember, that was his property, which is that wooded area. that I think they-
one time talking about.
What happened was, yeah, but the answer that I got from him was that there was standing water on the property. And so the standing water, I think, impeded them from.
That's a FEMA problem.
Yeah. So, anything else?
No, anybody else?
So just letting people know what's going on.
What about the lot next door? What's that going to
Really? The lot next door, it was top coated, so now we're going to get it striped, and once it's striped, it'll be open. However, a portion of it will still be fenced in because the next contractor is working on putting the door on the side. So what we did is we're closing the front door that faces the Black Horse Pike. That door will be closed and a window we put in there. And then basically we're putting in a vestibule area so that you'll have handicap access, walk in, basically ground level, into a lobby, and then a second set of doors to come into the lobby of the.
They're gonna be electric.
But you're saying that parking lot is up to, it seems like it's real low.
It's actually, it's low, but then it comes up just slightly enough so that it becomes it's at the floor of the borough hall.
Well, it's supposed to be a certain,
A little bit. It's a little pitch to go up. Come on, I think.
We could do a ribbon, or a.
no, I'm not talking about the pitch, I'm talking about the depth of the macadam, or whatever you want to call that
I
asphalt.
thought the second,
Yeah.
I can wrong that the second, the top coat, I was going to have it out for a couple of days.
But the second coat's supposed to be putting on, and then it's gonna be striped, and then it'll be open.
Okay.
And then, like I said, the next contractor, he gets started with the entrance.
And that's public parking, right? No
That'll
meter,
be
no
public
nothing.
parking. At some point, we're gonna,
Are the signs gonna go up before we get?
we haven't decided all that yet, because I think we're gonna figure things out. We don't know
Is
exactly.
there overnight parking?
I don't know. I think the police department's always been a little bit lax,
No,
to let people do overnight, but I don't know if we will.
I believe it's made with taxpayers' money. Taxpayers should be allowed to park there 24/7, 365.
The only thing we might limit is, certain lot spots might be 15 minutes for in and out.
Right, near the door, you mean, up front?
Yeah,
there?
you know, obviously it's gonna be handicapped parking spots, there's gonna maybe be 15-minute parking spots.
You're going to do the electric car plug-in.
We're hoping to do that, we weren't able to get that application done this year, it was a little bit extensive, to get that. But then the next phase, I forget what number we're up to, but just let everybody know, the next phase is after the door is moved, the next phase will be to, basically connect the downstairs building to this upstairs building with a breezeway that'll connect the two buildings, so that a person could walk from any of the doors to any of the areas without having to go outside. As all of you know, you have to go outside to go to the front counter. That'll be
Just
resolved.
like Trump Plaza.
And then, please, and then an elevator to go upstairs. And that'll basically eliminate, and all of our ADA, deficiencies, we'll be able to utilize our upstairs.
Great.
And hopefully it'll help us keep doing more things in this building. There's more to come, but I'm not gonna tell you everything.
You will.
Please, I'll have to leave.
Did you mention the sign? Did you mention the sign?
I did not mention the sign. There will be, we're going to have to bid, and obviously I'm not allowed to do it. We did put the foundation in for an electronic message board to go out in the parking lot. Hopefully it meets the code. And so, it'll be electronic message board. The idea to, the sign that's going to be in front of Cooper will be eliminated, and then this sign will be the sign for the borough to communicate to everybody. Okay?
Sounds good.
You could come to council meetings, I mean, we do like to talk at council meetings.
Any communications, Judy? Any communications?
Doesn't even have to be a meeting, you guys can talk.
Seeing there's no one in the audience to speak on good and welfare, I think we can open and close that. And any motion to adjourn?
No one, let's close that portion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, Mr. Ranieri,
Second.
second by Mr. Ockley, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned at 7:43. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Keith,